Hey there, I think we are live. Hopefully you are with us here. So we've got, instead of trying to do slides and all that stuff, I'm going to go to live video here. And Master Moody, Master Smith, Master Bob Dunn, Mr. Dunn are all going to be joining us here. So if you guys are online, go ahead and join us here on the meeting, but if not, that's okay too. We will just keep rolling right ahead and get started. What we have, a lot of people are registered for this, and of course we're coming up into a holiday weekend, and this will be recorded for you guys. So if you have the need for a replay, or you want staff to come through here or not, the topic today predominantly started out as how to close your enrollment ratios. In other words, how to close a much higher percentage of new students to or prospective students. And I'm gonna focus this on more tightly of leads of people who have come in for introductory class, how to close them on enrollment. However, I've talked to a lot of people. Bob Dunn has talked to a lot of people. Greg Moody, Jeff Smith, a lot of people on our team have talked to a lot of school owners who somehow have the misperception that summer is a slow period of time. Some of them think that they need to stack themselves up with summer camps because that's the only way they can generate revenue over the summer. Some of them have been, in my mind, really stupid in the way they structure their programs. So they're on month to month, not on regular programs, and therefore they have 25 or 30% of the people who want to stop paying over the summer, and the revenue plummets with that. That's in and of itself a really bad idea, and we can talk more about that perhaps in the future. But if you did that with the logic of, well, I never sue people on contracts and so forth, so why should I have contracts? That's really a bad idea. You should be doing that differently. The other element of it is I think school owners just think that June, July, August, or at least July and August are really bad periods of time to get people to enroll. They think they're all out of town, or that they're just not going to, come in and enroll, or they're too busy with outdoor activities and picnics and so forth to get started. And that's just been proven to be patently false. And in my conversation here, I'm going to talk on the marketing side mostly about the kids audience, in the sales closing side of it about both adults and children. But what I want you to understand is that much of what happens in your business is a self-fulfilling prophecy. In other words, if you expect it to be a really slow period of time, you'll make it a really slow period of time. If you expect it to be really active and busy, then you can make it really active and busy. And so, and by the way, while we're going through here, hopefully my audio is good. It looks like the video is in pretty good shape. We have a chat box here. Anybody can ask any questions whatsoever. We have quite a few people on with us live here so far. We have a couple of other participants who are going to be with us here. I'm not sure if they're able to get into the meeting room or not. We'll see. But anyway, so what we have is we have this chat box. We have a Q&A box here. It looks like we have coming up on around 50 people live with us here. The last one of these things I did, by the way, and if you were there, I apologize. I had far from figured out how to get this new system to work. And sometimes the technology, the more sophisticated it gets, the more difficult it is to get it to work right. In my case, I'm probably the biggest techno guru in the martial arts industry, but I tend to interact with this stuff on a big picture, how it should be done, and then have somebody do it for me at this point. In all of these new systems, I try to get my arms into it and really understand it to begin with. I've been doing that with Facebook advertising, with Bing advertising, with Twitter advertising, with Google advertising, with retargeting, with a bunch of other stuff. But this software kicked my butt last time. The irony was, many of you who were on here last time, 45 minutes later, while I was still messing around with it, or I guess maybe it was 35 minutes later, hung in there with us and waited around for it to start. And we're still there. And by the time we were done, we had more viewers last time on the social media little webcast we did than we had people who registered originally. So high participation. But again, I welcome you to ask questions all the way along. Before we get any further, I want to point out every year annually, it's going on about 15 years now, I've been doing the Ultimate Martial Arts Marketing Bootcamp. In the past, it was just, and still is, just a high level, big schools, strong schools, schools who want to come in and have a 6-week plan to add a net 100 new students to their school. This year, same thing is true. We're going to put together a business plan so that for back to school, you can add a net, and I mean net after losses and so forth, of 100 new students. The marketing boot camp is again going to be in Colorado. It's going to be in beautiful Golden, Colorado. It's going to be the first weekend in August. If you want to go to martialartsbootcamp.com, you can register there, get some information. We're happy to share that with you. What we have gone to with it is, rather than people registering online and so forth, is we really want to schedule an appointment with Bob Dunn, who works with me and perhaps with myself, to really go through a little bit of diagnostic and make sure, one, that you're not wasting your time or our time. We'd be happy to, or most people, I guess, might be happy to take your money and not let it be a good fit. But this is a very high level event. Some of the top 1% of the school owners in the world are going to be there. Some of the very top MMA schools, Muay Thai schools, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools, as well as traditional Shotokan, Taekwondo, Ninjutsu, etc., are going to be there. But they're really the top operators in the country. For smaller schools, if it's a good fit, if you're a good fit with it and really ready for fast and accelerated growth, then the lucky thing is you're in the room with a bunch of other people who are doing phenomenal numbers, phenomenal results, and it really gives you a belief system in what you can do and what the opportunities are. I can also give you a phone number if you have a pen to write this down. It's 720-256-0208. That goes directly to Bob Dunn, and he can give you additional information about it, schedule a time to talk to you a little bit about it, schedule a time to talk to you about the program a little bit, and then see if it's a good fit for you. But anyway, moving along, let's start first with fixing your closing ratios. And this is one of those things where there have been a wide variety of activities that have been real problematic. And one of the things, and hopefully you're in our little Facebook discussion group, not so little, there's I think 3,500 or 4,000 professional school owners in there. But I've been railing on recently is the different offers and things that become ingrained is the holy writ. But now is a good time for some kind of summer special offer. But what mostly I see is problematic with those offers from a closing ratio standpoint is oftentimes what happens is a school owner will do a 4-week offer, a 6-week offer, an 8-week offer, some kind of trial offer. But then they'll make the mistake of thinking that because somebody has let's say a 6-week trial offer of some sort, right now it might be a summer special offer, because they have a 6-week trial offer, that they're going to let them take classes for 6 weeks, and then at the end of 6 weeks they're going to talk to them. I heard an even worse plan recently, which was they put them in a 6-week trial offer and wait for an email to go out in a couple of weeks asking them if they'd like to enroll early and giving them a coupon for a discount and letting them come in and bring that. See, that type of stuff, what we want is we want 80% of the people who walk in the school to enroll. But when I say enroll, I'm not talking about a 6-week offer, a 2-month offer. I'm not talking about a 6-month offer. I'm not talking about something that's cancelable. What I'm talking about in practical terms is a 12-month, what I would consider trial enrollment. In other words, a quarter of the way to black belt, something like that. 12-month enrollment, $300, $400, $500 down, a couple hundred a month, let's say $197 or $247 a month. A significant tuition, 12-month contract, in most cases, no cancellation provision. So that's what I'm talking about is an enrollment, not a 6-week offer or, cancel at any time with 30 days notice, cancel any time with 60 days notice. I don't consider those enrollments. I consider those to be massively flaky. And I got a couple of people pinging me here trying to get on. So let me deal with that real quickly. And while I'm doing that, again, let me remind everybody on the video here, we have, looks like 60, 62, something like that. Um, um, the any questions you have, just put them in the chat bar, put them in the Q&A, and we'll try to get to them. So anything at all. And let's see if a couple of our other host moderators can figure out how to get in here to this deal. But anyway, let's move right along. So now, first topic, fixing your closing ratios. So let me start with the assumption that you're doing some kind of trial offer that's beyond 1 or 2 free lessons. So I'm going to make the assumption that it's a 4-week offer, a 6-week offer, an 8-week offer. And again, I don't necessarily recommend that most of the year. For most situations, I don't like those kind of offers. The reality of offers is certainly true that a paid offer is going to convert at a higher level in most cases than a free offer, and certainly they're more likely to show up for the introductory class. On the flip side, though, a long offer is going to convert worse than a short offer. So if I had a $19.97 for 1 or 2 lessons, maybe with a uniform, that's going to convert better than a 6-week offer, 8-week offer, 4-week offer. The longer offers, and whether that's a Groupon offer, whether it's a charitable offer, whatever it might be, the longer offers, you've got to work a little bit harder to make sure they can get converted. And the holy grail, by the way, is don't let them attend for 6 weeks. I mean, let them attend for the offer if they don't refuse not to enroll immediately, but don't set it up so that they come in for 6 weeks before they enroll. Set it up so on the first lesson or the second lesson they enroll. And by the way, my rule of thumb on that, there we go. We've got, we seem to have Senior Master Moody on here with us. But my rule of thumb on that is adults tend to be better with the first lesson, sometimes 2 lessons. With kids, I prefer 2 lessons. Sometimes it lingers to 3 lessons. The reason I don't like a 1 intro enrollment on kids so much is I want to make sure that I have both parents in or any other decision makers, which of course sometimes that's mom, her new husband, the dad, his new wife, and grandmother. I mean, there's all levels of those people. And Master Moody, welcome there. Glad to see that you got the live video.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Good. Yeah, I was going to say what people lose sometimes when they do the 2-step intro, which is a really good idea, as you said, is if they lose a lot of people from intro number 1 to intro number 2, sometimes that's why their close rates are bad too. So they've got to make sure they're really good at maintaining people showing up the next time.
Well, absolutely. And a lot of times what happens is they end up giving them too much information and in fact kind of scaring them off between the after the first lesson, and then they don't come back. So if you try to give them the complete A to Z of the enrollment, now next time you're going to do a 12-month enrollment, it's going to be X amount of money, X amount down, bring your credit card. If you give them too much information, they go home and try to make a decision between the first and second lesson. And we do have a question here. Michael says 3 lessons and a free T-shirt for $20 or $29 offer seems popular. What do you think about that one? See, the right answer, Michael, is the offers are context specific. Now, what I mean by that is, like right now, in order to have a lot of traffic, I might do a summer special offer, which was, let's say, $97 for 6 weeks. And to go back to old leads or to go back to heavy advertising or something like that, that might be real effective right now. Now, generally, that's not the type of offer that I prefer. On the other hand, and we'll talk about this later as we get to some marketing, is we're going to be doing a lot of live event marketing. Some of our guys will do 30 or 50 enrollments from this weekend being in movie theaters with X-Men and Alice. Certainly then the Ninja Turtle movie, and recently the Civil War movie, Captain America. But there's a lot of different types of events where you can go out and round up 20, 30, 40, even 50 enrollments in one weekend, sometimes more. Those tend to be a free offer. So they tend to be 2 free lessons or a 2 free week offer. The generally is whether the offer should be free or paid. Sometimes it is I think about it, how wide you want to open the spigot. You tend to always get more response with free. You tend to get more solid people who pay you something, although the longer they pay you for in the trial offer, the harder it is to convert them to the regular enrollment. So keep those 3 elements in mind. And again, it's context specific. So I might do a charitable fundraiser and be at a fun run for cancer, and the offer is $27 or $47 for 4 or 5 weeks in a uniform, and 100% of the money gets donated to the charity. That's a great offer. Now, it might be I'm in the movie theater and they're spinning the prize wheel and they're meeting the Ninja Turtle and I'm scheduling them for an introductory. That's going to be more likely to be a free offer. So all of those offers are context specific. The other thing I see a lot, and some of the website companies have been trying to do this, which I more or less disagree with, is I see a lot of people on their website are trying to have a paid offer where you register them, capture a credit card and so forth. The real hardcore numbers on that, and this is by big marketers with hundreds of thousands of people going through their pipeline, closing ratio is going to be 400% better if you get them to initiate an inbound phone call or you get them on the phone versus trying to get them to put money in the website. 400%. So if you've got in any given period of time 5 people to give you money on the website, if you were talking to them on the phone, that might be 20 people who registered either for a free or for a paid introductory. So be very careful with what you're doing online. Oftentimes the mission online is to market to them offline, get them to go check you out on your website, and the website get them to get you on the phone, right? So you certainly want to capture lead information. We want to have pixels and HTML code and all that stuff so we can retarget on Twitter and on Facebook and on Google and all that stuff, mostly Facebook and Google. But at the same time, what we want to do, like what we're doing now, is when somebody opts in on the website, they automatically get a text message, they get a voicemail, they get an email, all telling them to, in some case on the text, hit this number and go, call us right now. The voicemail says, hey, thank you so much for your interest. If you'll dial 2 on the keyboard right now, you'll be connected to John, our head instructor, and he'll give you more information about the program. And at the same time, as the prospect is coming in, we have somebody doing an outbound call to them to try to get them on the phone. What's changed today in the mobile world, they're using smartphones, Androids or iPhones, and all this stuff. What's happened is if people don't recognize the phone number, they don't answer. But utilizing all those different mechanisms helps to increase and facilitate getting them on the phone. So, Master, anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I would add it's a really relevant and good question for overall business. But what we need to do is make sure that we separate the idea of what creates a response or what gets them into your school from the enrollment process. Now, of course, it's relevant if somebody comes in with a summer, summer for $97 versus a 2-week free offer. Then my conversation's slightly different in the enrollment, but I'm still going to enroll them in the first or second lesson. I don't care if they're there for the whole, if it's an offer for the whole summer, we just have to structure some sort of a deal for them or whatever's going to make financial and reasonable sense for them to join now and just make a commitment to join rather than worry about just doing the summer. Or if they've got a Groupon, join now and not worry about it. And we need to make it a both financially and comfort deal so that they don't feel like they're, that they don't have much risk. So but anyway, my main point is the question's really good, but the question's good about how do we generate more people in the door that are solid. And then the next stage is how do we enroll them? But what I find some people doing is saying, well, I always do $19.95 for 3 classes, and that's my favorite offer. And the way that their staff is set up is if somebody comes in and they had a 1-month free offer, they wouldn't know how to enroll them. Or if Groupon explodes like it did a while ago, they don't know how to enroll them, and it breaks the system. So we want to, like today, we're going to talk about how to make sure your enrollment system will work with any of those offers so that as the offers change and we can get better response based in context situations like you just said, and also, if we have to run a different offer maybe on our website to get us a better response, we can still enroll people at a very high rate. So those are 2 separate things. They need to be considered separately.
No, I couldn't agree more. And again, I mean, I opened my schools in 1983, and I don't know how many, probably 40,000 students we've enrolled. I've probably done 3,000 myself, face to face, belly to belly over the years. But all kinds of different offers. I mean, there was times when it was $9.97 for 2 free lessons, $14.97 for 2 lessons and a free uniform. The offer we kind of ended up as a standard was 2 free weeks, a free semi-private evaluation with a black belt instructor, a free DVD, a free CD, and a free uniform. Now that's a pretty powerful free offer. However, is at any one given time, I might have 100,000 flyers out into the area. That's a fundraiser for Children's Hospital, and the offer is a $27 donation to Children's Hospital, and get a free $50 uniform and a free month of lessons, and it's a $290 value. I might also have on the website as the standard, call us for our 2 free week introductory offer. And in fact, standard on our franchise schools, on the Mile High Karate sites, is that 2 free weeks, free semi-private class with a black belt instructor and evaluation, free DVD, free CD, and free uniform. You can go to freekarate.com and see that. But then we might also have offers running on Groupon. And again, that's a great free source, that and Living Social and Amazon Local when they have that going, and Google. I mean, all those others are trying to copy Groupon. In fact, Groupon is trying to be kind of, they're changing their market to where they're trying to be the dollar store to Walmart, which is Amazon. So, but you might have an offer on Groupon, which is something ridiculously cheap, $19.97 for a month and $29.97 for 2 months. Well, in all of those cases, you have to have basically the same script with only minor changes, where you convert them at the first and or the second lesson. And what Master Moody, what you just said, I couldn't agree more, is when you're doing a 2-lesson intro, what you don't want to do is basically send them home with a blank copy of the contract and send them home with a price sheet and say, hey, go look at this and make a decision in a vacuum on your own, and then let me know or come back next time with a check if you want to enroll. See, that's not the way it works.
Yeah, the general rule should be, if I'm asking you to buy, I should be there.
Right.
You're making a financial decision, then it needs to be with me. So any of this, one of the things that kills people is they don't know how to handle it when they say, well, I just want to go home and think about it. We need to be able to handle those questions, because when they think about it, all they're thinking about is money. They're not thinking about the other stuff that we value. So, it's very hard to make, it's almost impossible for, especially like for a wife, to go home and convince a husband, oh, karate's worth $250. That's what our basic program is, $247 a month. Just to start, and leadership's double that. So, for them to understand the value propositions, it's never going to happen. So we need to be really good at handling all those downstream things. And if there's ever a financial decision, it should be with us present and with all the decision makers present.
Oh, without a doubt. And again, the number one thing on that is, and I'll see a lot of school owners, they say, well, mom brought the kid in and I said we require both parents to be there. What she said was, oh, I can make all the decisions. Well, what you have to know is when mom says that, or when dad says that, but when mom says that, is we know statistically a couple of things. One is, if it's an enrollment for a child, 80% of the decision is mom. However, dad is the one who gets pissed off when she makes the decision and goes home and shows him the finances. So you want to have dad there, not because he's the primary decision maker, not because he controls the checkbook, but because he's going to get mad if he wasn't involved in the decision. And that doesn't help us have a long-term relationship with a student, doesn't help us get them to black belt. The other thing we know is when mom says, I can make the decision, she's thinking of, I enrolled my daughter in dance school. It was $100 to enroll, $79 a month, month to month. She's thinking it's like this. Suddenly, when it's a $2,500 contract or a $300 contract, and it's $500 or $600 to enroll, and it's $247 a month for 12 months, that's what, $3,000 plus the down payment. So a $3,500 contract. That's not a decision she wants to make on her own, but she doesn't even think that that's the decision she's going to be making. So you do want to have both decision makers there. Master Moody, I'm going to throw this at you. Daryl says, I'm having a problem converting 16-week Groupon go to karate, in other words, Groupon lead. Based on your past statement, is this based on the length of the offer? Is the length of the offer the problem? But the basic question is, he's got a 2-month Groupon.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, 16 week?
16 week. Yeah, it's the $30 16 week Groupon with a uniform offer that's very typical.
Oh, no, 16 lessons.
16 lessons, you're right. 16 lessons, that's the typical offer. I'm sure that's probably what Daryl's referring to. Right. So the length of the offer isn't as much as you do.
Yeah, walk through how you would convert that, Master.
Well, first of all, there's really, we train when that happened, we didn't have too many problems converting them, but I train my guys to really deal with 3 main types of offers. There's free offers, so they come in with some sort of free coupon, and then there's offers like a $49 coupon for 4 weeks. In that case, they haven't paid yet. They're coming in to pay. Those 2 conversions are a little different than the one like Groupon, which is what kind of threw people, I think, is that in Groupon's case, they've prepaid. The real issue is they've prepaid. So they've already made a decision and they've already paid some money. Okay, so that's a key point. So we make the offer a little bit better. Plus, by the way, the $30 for that 16 class offer is worth on the ticket, says it's worth like $600. So what a lot of people were doing is trying to enroll people by giving them $100 off. Well, that's not a very good deal. You know, if you think about it from the parent's point of view, the person that bought the Groupon, they came in paying $30 for this $500 value, and you're going to give them $100 off to join. I wouldn't do that. It doesn't make any sense. So if we step back and think about what the trade has to be, it has to be is a good trade between that $30 Groupon that's worth $600 and your program. So first of all, your down payment has to be high enough. If your down payment's too low, you don't have much to offer. So for example, our down payment's $500, and in the Groupon case, we actually give them the whole $500 off. So they save $500. So first of all, if they want to wait, that's okay, but then they'll have to pay the $500 down, in the monthly cost. And then in the 16-week, for us, that's about 2 months. So we just give them an extra month off to make sure that it's worth more than the $600 that they paid on Groupon. So the way the presentation would work is like this. Well, our basic program is, I'll just use easy round numbers, is $500 down and $247 a month. Now you do have your Groupon that you paid $30 for, and that'll let you come in for 16 classes and gives you a uniform. And I'll write on the paper $30, 16 classes uniform. What I'd like to do today is trade the value of your Groupon towards the basic program. So instead of paying $500 down, you just pay 0, and I cross off 500 and write 0. That'll save you, and I write right on the page, very important to write this so they see it visually, save $500. Plus, we'll give you 1 extra month for free. So underneath, we'll write 247.00. Draw a line, just like first grade math. So the total savings is $747. How would you like to take care of the first month? So now they get a free month at the end of the basic program. And if you want, you can even spread that month out over the whole term of the basic program. So it's maybe 2 ARC basic programs a year, which we recommend. So maybe it's $235 or something, or $230. And so how would you like to take care of the first month? So all they pay is the first month, and then they get started. So that's converting the value, that $600 value of Groupon, towards the basic program. And our close rate's about 70% on that. So it's slightly less than what we typically 80–85%. It's slightly less. Now here's the key though with the Groupons. The advantage of the Groupons, even if we're down to 60% close rate, the Groupons, unlike some of the other types of offers, they actually will stay for a couple months if they don't join the basic program. So we will very often enroll them later. And we move them right into the upgraded program. So instead of giving them the discount, we don't give them the discount if they don't do it the first day. If they come in the next day and want to do it, we'll go ahead and give it to them, or the third class or whatever their first regular class is after they have the offer. But if we wait more than 2 weeks, when we regularly start our upgrade process, we just start our normal upgrade process and we move them right to our leadership program. So that's a basic summary of that, I think, Master Oliver. The big deal is if you're going to have an offer, you got to make sure that your trade of that offer, of the Groupon, is worth more than what they paid.
Oh,
otherwise, it's a very good deal.
Yeah, and the other thing there is, if they don't enroll at that, say, that second class when you're talking to them, or first class, you don't want to just say, we'll talk again in 16 classes or in 2 months. You want to schedule, you continue to schedule each class as an introductory appointment. We've been using a great app that helps confirm that and remind them and so forth. But then I would give them a deadline. And if I absolutely can't get them then, I give them a deadline in, say, 4 lessons that we'll sit down and review it. And if you go ahead and finalize it, then I can probably still honor that discount, but give them a deadline. But then, as you said, Master Moody, if you end up in 2 months, I mean, that's what we just spent 2.5 days working on in Sterling, Virginia, at our last mastermind meeting, is you renew them straight into leadership. And you know, we have a bunch of other questions. And guys,
let me, before we finish with that, real quick, I wanted to mention something. If the worst thing you can do is say, and this is true of any of the enrollments, oh, if you come in the next class, we'll give you a little bit less of a discount and a little bit less of a discount, and try to make this thing, because what you're doing in that case, 100% of the time, you're incentivizing them to wait. So if they get $600 today, but they're going to get a $500 discount next time, even though it seems $100 seems like it matters, it's much more worth it for them to just blow it off and wait. So you got to make this real black and white. You get it now if you want to, because you're trading the value of the Groupon. I'm trading the value of the Groupon. If you want to wait, you can, but you're going to have used all the Groupon value. So I hate for you to use all the Groupon value. But anyway, and we'll get to risk reversal later. Some of this stuff I think we're going to cover that'll apply to this stuff. I don't want to overdo it on the specific questions.
Yeah, but and to emphasize what you just said is, they say, well, can't I just wait till the 16 classes or the 2 months or whatever? You know, my answer is always, well, sure you can. I just hate to see you pay the extra $500. Well, what do you mean? I mean, well, the reason you're getting the $500 discount is you're using the Groupon for the full, we're giving you the full value, not what you paid, to go ahead and enroll today. If you wait and use the Groupon and do the 16 classes, that's absolutely fine. You're going to enroll on the normal program the same way anybody else would. So you're going to pay the $500 down. And Master, this is right on track. Is a couple of questions. Chris asked a question, which is, you know, what happens when they refuse to have both the decision makers? And then somebody who didn't put their name, D, asked the question of, you know, what do they get for $247? Now, let's talk about the first one first. You know, my kids have been enrolled in I think 3 different private schools. My daughter's now 14. My son just turned 8. And in every case, the conversation started with a phone call. What they said to me is, we do a tour and a introduction to the school. We require both parents to be at that orientation, and anybody else who's going to be involved in making the decision or the finances. We require. And they held their ground on that. In our case, I'm just as solid. We require both parents and anybody else involved in the decision, which, you know, sometimes is the grandmother, and sometimes it's the, you know, it's the ex-husband and the ex-wife and the new husband and the new wife and the grandmother. And I've had to be the, you know, the wife and her new lesbian lover, and the dad and his new girlfriend, and the grandmother. So, you know, it's whoever's going to be involved in the decision making. And I stand tight on that. Now, the exception to that is, you know, dad's in the Army, he's in Afghanistan. And so then I'll send mom home with an outline, but not all the specifics, or schedule a time that we can talk to him. Sometimes it's grandmother, we're in Colorado, she's in, you know, Milwaukee. Sometimes it's scheduling a time on the phone when we can involve the other decision maker. And in fact, we have some tools that we use online, so we can have him from Afghanistan go look at the information about the program, and then we can get him on the phone. The other question I think is interesting. What service do they get for $247? I got to tell you, here's some rules of thumb for everybody. And I want you to write this down because it's really important. It's practically impossible to make a six-figure income running a martial arts school at a low price point. Number two is it's irrelevant what anybody else in your area is charging. My expectation is if we do our marketing well, we're never going to have more than 5 or 10% of the people who come in who are ever going to price shop. And even the ones that price shop, keep in mind, we're not in an industry filled with brainiacs. Most of the schools in our area are part-timers. Most of the schools in our area, frankly, aren't very good. Certainly, they don't have very good sales and marketing processes. Just by being on this conversation, you put yourself automatically in the top 20% of our industry. So what you have to look at is this, is that, again, I was going to give you benchmarks. Our benchmark for the people that Master Moody and Master Smith and Mr. Dunn and I are working with is we want their average revenue per student to be at least $200 a month, preferably closer to $300. That means 300 active students is a school doing $60,000 to $90,000 a month. I can give you lots and lots of examples of schools that I'm working with. One has 310 students, is grossing on average $78,000 a month. Another one has 220 students, is grossing on average $58,000 to $60,000 a month. I can give you example after example. That's the way. One, you have quality students. Two, you get them to black belt. Three, you have people who aren't bitching and moaning all the time. Four is you make a good living. And five, you have enough cash flow to pay your staff well. There was a great interview I read with Howard Schultz of Starbucks. His conversation was the reason we charge $3.28 or $4.32 for a medium cup of coffee is so that we can pay our staff extremely well and provide a medical insurance. Now that's a pretty interesting statement. One is he knows that they get a better audience, more sales, everything else by not competing with Dunkin' Donuts in McDonald's. Number two, he knows that an awful lot of the quality of the experience is the quality of the staff. And if they can pay them better, they can attract better people, they can keep them longer. And again, they're in the food services industry. The average McDonald's has a 300 to 400% turnover rate a year. The average Starbucks is like 1/5 of that. So it's a really interesting comment. So the other piece of that answer is 2 lessons a week, 12-month enrollment, $247 a month. That's the deal. And then we have a renewal. We have a renewal typically to Black Belt Club, and then we have a renewal to leadership. The renewal to leadership is typically double that. So closer to $500 a month. And again, there's a whole system and process, which is completely off topic today, on how to do that. But the reality is the vast majority of students that you bring in are just as happy and willing to pay $247 a month as they are $127 a month. Does the demographics of your area make a difference? Sure, on the margin it does. But the schools that we're talking about that are in the $247 range aren't in Manhattan or Malibu. They're all over the place. And in fact, when it comes to excuses for low prices, I've recently talked to people who are in the New York metropolitan area who have an excuse for themselves for why they're charging too low. I've talked to schools that are literally in Malibu or Orange County. A close friend of mine, I had a long conversation with them. They're in Silicon Valley, and asked them why they're charging less than by like half of what I was. And their argument is, we're in Silicon Valley, the cost of living is so high people can't afford it. Well, the reason why in Silicon Valley the cost of living is high is because they're getting well compensated. The reason why in Manhattan the cost of living is so high is they're making above average incomes. They're certainly making a lot more money in San Francisco and in San Jose than they are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Oklahoma City. So that is not a good excuse either.
But that's not to say that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or whatever, they can't charge real rates. I mean, that's part of the problem we face all the time. And again, it's probably a separate thing. We almost spend half our time trying to get people to charge real rates for what they do. And I think what you said before, Master Oliver, is relevant. Is what they what the other guys charge, what your instructor charge, what the other karate schools around you are telling you, what your buddies in martial arts are telling you is wrong. You don't need to charge that much. But what we're going over today is really relevant if you do things properly and you run a really good school and you have really good retention. We're trying to help with all that, and those things will help you charge real rates.
Oh, absolutely. And that's exactly right. I mean, how much can you charge in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Well, $247 or $297 for a new enrollment, and $500 or $600 for a leadership upgrade. I mean, I'm from Tulsa. I certainly know that market. I mean, I've worked with a school. They were hit by a tornado a couple of days ago in Dodge City, Kansas, who can charge those kind of rates. So what you have to do, and this goes back to the enrollment conversion ratios, and we're going to have to move along. But what you have to do is you have to move this from them thinking of it as a comparable to, for an adult, going to 24-hour fitness for $27 a month. For a child, a comparable to soccer season. And you've got to move it into, this is a comprehensive personal development, personal growth program. And the way you do that is you do it with testimonials, you do it with social proof, you do it with proof of how that goes. And you have to shift, again, for a child, you've got to shift the parent into the mode of, this is the best possible thing I could do for my child to help them be honor roll, to help them be confident in all situations, to be immune to negative peer pressure. And if you ask me, if you bring me in and say, we're going to teach you front snap kick, or we're going to teach you back fist, or we're going to teach you how to choke somebody out, what's that worth? Well, as a parent, for my kids, maybe that's worth $75 a month. I don't put a very high value on that. On the other hand, if this is going to help your child be confident, be an A student, help them go to Pepperdine or to Stanford or Harvard or West Point, it's going to have them be immune to negative peer pressure, that's priceless. So if I shift it from this is kicking and punching or grappling and choking to this is life-changing value and benefit, you go from it's worth $75 a month to it's priceless, right? And again, I'm getting a lot of questions now that are a little off topic. I would recommend for everybody, go to martialartswealth.com, or let me give you a phone number. Write this down: 720-256-0208. Give it to you again: 720-256-0208. I'll even put that in the little chat forum here. If you call Bob Dunn, or you're welcome to text him. And
I'm doing it right now for you, sir.
Yeah, okay. But if you give Bob Dunn a call, you can schedule a time to chat with me, or chat with Master Moody, or chat with Master Smith. And what we can do is give you a little bit more comprehensive. Again, some of these questions are, how do you let's see, I paid $4,000 for the year for my son to play soccer. Well, that's absolutely right. How do you pay staff? What's a good rate if you were to employ another instructor? That's all pretty much off topic. If we have time, we'll get to it, but I don't think we're going to have time. So my student population is low. I opened my business 8 months ago, so my student population is low. Is it true if your school is full, then your parents will see the value for charging $250? Well, a new school owner needs to start with a lower rate and increase the price point. Daryl, the deal is you need 100 more students, right? And in my case, go back to 1983, is my rule of thumb was always 100 students in the first month. And is it true that a busy school, people see it as value and it's a bandwagon effect, they want to be there? Absolutely. Does that mean that you need to wait till it's there in order to charge a higher rate? No. But by the way, you need to get there, right? So if somebody has, Daryl, I don't know where you're at, but if a school owner has been open 8 months and has 42 students or 72 students, the reason isn't that you've only been open 8 months. The reason is you're not doing very good marketing, or not doing enough marketing. And so what you have to do is you have to go get 100 new students. So if you go get 100 new students and fill it up, then you're in great shape. So don't get bogged down in that. It certainly is true that in doing grand opening blitz, part of what I've used as an excuse is it's a 25% discount. if you enroll today, and that's only good for the first student, 100 students. But that was only like the first 6 weeks, maybe, first 4 weeks, first 6 weeks. If you have less than 100 students and are grossing less than $20,000, what you need is you need to set the alarm earlier in the morning, get out and hoof it, and go do a whole bunch of stuff that's going to fill up the school. And frankly, in the next 6 weeks, certainly before the end of summer, you could add a net 100 new students, no problem. And then you're off to the races. And Master Moody, let's shift to that topic. We're already 45 minutes in. And again, we put in the little chat box, 720-256-0208. Or if you go to martialartswealth.com, there's a free online seminar. There's a free copy of my first book. And I'd like to answer all of these questions. I will tell you that what your expectation is of what you can charge is, there certainly are seasonal recreational activities. My son right now is in baseball. The overall development potential of that with volunteer instructors and so forth is practically nil. I don't even know what we paid for it. It wasn't much. But if you go to Sylvan Learning Centers, go to Huntington Kumon, look at what they're charging. And frankly, the thing about comparing with other martial arts schools is there's a great quote by Tom Hopkins. I loved it. It was, never take advice from somebody more screwed up than you are. The vast majority.
Yeah, which is most of the martial arts industry.
Vast majority is we're in an industry that's mostly populated by people who haven't been educated. They may be very well educated in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai or Taekwondo or something like that. They may be one of the world's leading experts. They may have been the world champion at whatever, the Grand Boobah, whatever. But that doesn't mean they know how to run their school. And in most cases, they don't. And the bottom 50% of our industry is flat broke and mostly part-timers. It's the top 10% you want to look at. Those are the guys that we've rounded up. So when we have a mastermind meeting or when we have a high-level meeting, we're only working with the very top people in the industry. Those are the ones you want to listen to. Don't call around everybody, figure out what they're charging and charge 10% less. In fact, in 1983, when I opened here, I looked at what everybody else was charging and then immediately used the Junri Institute price sheet, which, by the way, in inflation-adjusted terms, was over $200 a month in today's terms, and the equivalent of $800 down payment. When I opened, I had 1,500 students by the end of 18 months, and was by far the biggest market share. You could put everybody else in the metro area together, and I probably had more students than all of them put together, charging double what the next highest person in town was. So what everybody else is charging just doesn't matter unless you suck at marketing. And I understand that some of you do. We can fix that. And Master Moody, we've already been going about 45 minutes. I was planning on this being maybe an hour. We can go a little bit longer if there's more questions, and I'm happy to do that. What I would like to do is shift to for a second is the summer marketing and give everybody 2 or 3 ideas for filling their school up over the summer. And
Master Oliver, I was going to say while we're talking about this, I know nobody wants to miss anything that we're saying, but it might be a good idea to give Bob a call, because I think usually at the end of these things, Bob gets inundated by go online or give Bob a call while we're talking, because otherwise he gets totally full and you end up getting frustrated by trying to get through to him. But one of the things that to answer all these questions and to make sure we thoroughly go through this with you is to work with you one-on-one to do that. And we'll spend some time and set aside some time to try to solve your problems individually on these enrollment issues too. But anyway, go ahead, sir, on the summer marketing.
No, that's fine. I mean, and again, on the new school idea, right? What would you tell somebody who's new to an area, open a brand new school? Fill it up in a hurry. So, Robert, I have one of my students, actually, he's one of our mastermind members, has now been 36 months, but he opened a brand new school in Fort Collins, Colorado. I put together the grand opening marketing plan for him. He was at 100, and he's, in fact, in the middle of opening a second school. I think in 6 weeks, he's at 68 students, and I keep bitching at him about it. It's not going fast enough. But what we've done time after time after time, Robert, is 100 students in 4 to 6 weeks at break-even cash flow in the first month. 100 students should equate to at least $20,000 a month in revenue. So you can be at break-even cash flow, paying yourself. But what happens so many times with martial arts school owners is they're afraid to just jump in and get it to happen. And then they open the doors, they're paying rent, and they're, screwing around online and doing SEO and maybe buying some pay-per-click, and they're, they got the doors open for business, and they're hoping for a trickle of word of mouth. I can tell you, referrals is the best thing you can possibly have, except it kicks in volume with 150 or 200 students. The rich get richer. A small school, forget about referrals, then you can get 100 new students. What would you add to that, Pastor Moody?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we said before. We're mixing things up. The main job is to get the 100 students. Now, would you do an offer, some kind of special offer if they enroll today, blah, blah, blah. All that has to do, it's the same as if you did a summer special or anything. All that is your offer. So we've got 3 things: generate interest. There's some sort of offer. That there has to be an offer. There has to be a reason for them to do it now. The offer is important so that there's some urgency, so that they feel like they're getting a good deal. And then we have to be really good at the enrollment process, so we sign up all of them. We've talked to a lot of people recently. Sometimes that marketing isn't even the problem. That's what kills us, is they've got 60 leads a month from their webpage, for example. They've got a really good webpage that's working great, and they only enroll 3. And that's like a knife in my heart. I really do feel physically sick when I hear that, but the more common thing is they're just not doing enough to generate enough business, and they're only doing 1 or 2 things. You can't live off that. You can't live off it long-term for sure. Even if one thing works really well, you have to have enough things going on to make sure that you're going to be successful. And unfortunately for some people, that's really hard to do. That's what we get to help you with a lot.
Yeah, and again, we have some questions about class scheduling, about staff payroll, and I'm happy to talk to you one-on-one about stuff like that. That's way off topic for today. And make sure you're in our Facebook discussion group. But I would like to schedule times. And I'll remind everybody, the Marketing Bootcamp is coming up early in August. It's in Colorado. It's a beautiful time to visit. But it is really going to be the 6-week back to school, how to add a net 100 new students. We've got a question here. Jack says, what if your area, there are a lot of competition? Isn't it harder to fill up? No, it's not harder to fill up. The thing about competition in our market is if you're, if in the old days, if it was you were just buying an ad in the yellow pages, waiting for people to call you, then certainly it makes a little bit of difference, right? But the current version of the yellow pages is just Google, right? Now I could say it's Google, it's Bing, and it's Yahoo, but really Google's the 800-pound gorilla. But if you're just waiting for somebody to Google martial arts lessons in your area or MMA or whatever it is, and come through that source, that's the only place where they end up comparing you with everybody else. If you're good at your marketing, if you're doing, and the term I like to use is marketing in a vacuum. In other words, you're getting to them before they're out searching for a martial arts school. The competition in your area makes no difference. Makes no difference whatsoever. And by the way, anywhere in North America, there are a lot of damn martial arts schools. The highest number of schools in the U.S. In a state is in California. The highest density is in New York. But last count, commercial schools that have at least a business listing is close to 19,000 in the U.S. In Denver, Colorado, last time I looked, there were 386 schools. With 386 schools for a lot of years, we had a 50% market share. It just doesn't make any difference. And
you're focusing on the wrong thing. Everybody's focusing on the reasons why they can't do it, why they can't charge enough, why they can't market enough, what the deal is. There's all this saturation. All of that's irrelevant. None of that's relevant. I had the same problem. My school was the largest school in the ATA for many years. It was the school of the year again and again, like 7 years in a row. And everybody kept pointing at me and going, well, that's because you're in Scottsdale, or that's because you're here, that's because you're there. No, but you know what happened before that? Everybody told me, oh, you'll never do good in Scottsdale because the people are too, house poor. You'll never do it in Scottsdale because of this. You'll never do it in Scottsdale because the people are like this. It was the same BS. And I guess I was dumb enough to ignore all that and just do it anyway. And that's why we were the largest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Andrew asked a question, do you hire a marketing company or you do it yourself? I got to tell you, if you're running a business, you've got to learn the skill of how do you get more students, how do you keep them longer, and how do you maximize the revenue per student? I mean, those are the only three key elements that we have. And from a marketing company standpoint is, think of it this way, the elements of, let's call it the Parthenon, the elements of the marketing are SEO, search engine optimization, pay-per-click, Google Places. So that's like the modern equivalent of the Yellow Pages. There's some great companies that can do that stuff for you. You don't have to do it yourself. 97 Display, Go to Karate are two that we've used. Go to Karate is also really good at setting up Groupon for you and stuff like that. So in that case, yeah, you can use somebody so you don't have to get technically involved in doing that stuff. You should know what it is you're trying to accomplish. Then the next element is we can do all kinds of community outreach marketing, movie theaters, live event marketing, directly with elementary schools, directly with daycares, directly with summer camps, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That stuff you don't hire somebody to do. You go do that, right? The third is PR and publicity. There's some great public relations companies and publicity companies around, but they're very expensive to get somebody who's going to be good. They might cost you $100,000 a year. It's something you should learn how to do yourself. The next element is effective referral, in-house marketing, how to get friends in for events, how to get friends in for birthday parties, how to get friends in for pizza parties, how to have a big audience for your belt graduations. Obviously, you can't hire that out. You've got to learn how to do that yourself. And I could go on and on the list. The thing is, you want to have 20 or 30 things going on every month to drive enough traffic. We mentioned like the charitable hospital, children's hospital, charitable type of flyers. That's not something you contract out. You go set that up, learn. I can teach you how to do it, but you go do that yourself. We've done really well with the working directly with elementary schools. That's not something you farm out. That's something you do yourself. I had a couple of people asking about the martial arts marketing boot camp.
Well, Master Oliver, I was going to mention, in general, the way you do this is you have to learn how to do it yourself, because for some of these things, the companies you mentioned, like Go to Karate and the website people, you kind of have to hire that out. There's certain components that you hire out, but then if you don't understand the rest of the picture, and that's what we help you with. Our job is like being the instructor of doing those things. Just like you're the instructor of people learning martial arts. We're helping people learn how to do these things, and you need to understand the concepts, because number one, you need to. If you hire a marketing company for stuff like that, typically that's a good way to waste a lot of money. Because they end up trying to turn you into Coke or Pepsi, and that's just not the kind of business we have. So it just doesn't work to hire some kind of marketing outfit off the street.
Yeah. Well, and again, there's a lot of questions here. Some of them are a little off topic. I guess somebody's video was frozen up. I'm seeing everything fine, so that may be on your end.
The email the prices later this evening thing is a pretty good one to answer. It's relevant to the enrollment topic.
Daryl says most martial artists are get it done individuals. We only need the how-tos, and we will get it done. I can't tell you, I couldn't disagree more with that. What unfortunately I see so many times is that most people who are running a martial arts school business are lazy. What they want to do is they want to spend all their time training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or they want to spend their time sparring, or they think that they can go train to their 7th degree Dan level in something or other, and somehow by being a better martial artist, they're going to get more students and they're going to bring in more income, and nothing could be further from the truth. You've got to learn how to run your business effectively. And Master, let's spend some time here on specific summer marketing. We have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming up. We have X-Men and Alice this weekend. We've got, let me just give you one example. Colby Winkler, who's one of our clients, he's up in Minnesota. he went to an event. It was a marathon. 180 leads, meaning name, address, phone number, email address. Of those, 150 of them made an appointment on the spot to come in for an introductory class. Of those, a tick under 100 showed up and took an introductory class, and 52 of them enrolled. And then 6 weeks later, he did a renewal blitz and did $200,000 in cash. And I mean, deposited into the bank, not paper, in cash from that blitz of enrollments. So from a standpoint of summer, there's all kinds of stuff like that that are opportunities. The movie theater thing, and certainly Ninja Turtles is one, but this weekend we're going to have schools that we work with directly who are going to do 20 to 50 enrollments just from Memorial Day weekend, from either live events of some sort or from working in the movie theaters. We're going to have everybody's going to be so busy all summer they can't see straight. And again, go back to Daryl and some of these other questions. Absolutely, the marketing boot camp is going to give you a comprehensive business plan and comprehensive plan in order to add a net 100 new students. What I would like to do is suggest that you give Bob a call and that we schedule a time to talk individually. It's not going to be before next week, but we can schedule a time next week if you give Bob a call now and get on my schedule or on Master Moody's schedule. And we'll schedule a time to see if it's a good fit and see what you need to do. But coming up in the summer, again, kids market, adult market. In the kids market, there are Boy Scout camps, Girl Scout camps, summer camps at community centers. There's vacation Bible schools. There are summer camps that just drive a bus, pick the kids up, take them to the movie theater, take them to the pool, etc. There's swimming pools that are big community pools that are full of people, and I could go on and on the list. And all of those places are places where you can go in, teach a class, get permission slips, get the list of the kids who are there, perhaps send an instructor back over when the parents are picking them up and make appointments on the spot. And just doing that, you could book so many appointments over the summer that you could do 50 enrollments a month. The other thing is this movie theater promotion, and it's kind of an A to Z of that, but again, when we talk, we can give you more of the details on how that works. But again, those kind of numbers that I mentioned with Colby, we had one of the schools we're working with, Chuck Norris's most senior black belt. He did 800 new leads, hundreds of enrollments so far. I don't even know the exact number from the Star Wars movie when it came out. We've had other schools that have done 20 to 50 enrollments from the Avengers, the Captain America Civil War movie. So that's another opportunity. The other thing is, and again, in the adult market, there are all kinds of places where you're going to get, if I'm an MMA school who just teaches adults, let's say I'm focused on adult men, and I'm predominantly teaching MMA. There's all kinds of places over the summer where you can get to them. And so what you have is you have Fun Run for Cancer, you have 5K runs, 3K runs, you have marathons, you have taste of type of events, you have other kind of outdoor events and activities, you have home and garden shows. There's all kinds of live events where you can get out there. If you're focused on internet stuff, something that's works really well right now is targeted audience Facebook advertising. What may not work great for, say, July is trying to maximize your SEO, pay-per-click, and so forth, because you do end up with a midsummer where what Google calls their click inventory is a little bit low, right? And Dave, you asked a question, do you pass out flyers at movie theaters? No. Anytime you're doing a live event, the mission is either sell something on the spot, which is typically difficult to do in a movie theater, or is to get name, address, phone number, and make an appointment for an introductory class. Is anything short of that is mostly wasting your time. What we used to do, I mean, I can go back 30 years, we used to be able to go to a show and get leads, lead boxes, and they'd give us a phone number, go to an event and get hundreds of leads. But what's changed in the mobile world is you can now contact people through Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, and you have text messaging, and you have Facebook advertising, and you have email and all this stuff. But the reality is what's changed is, if you have a list of 100 people and you go through and call 100 people, you only get 5 or maybe 10 of them to answer the phone line. So it has become difficult to just collect leads and to get them to respond to you. So what we want to do is we want to communicate with them by calling them, but we have to start at the top of the list and go through. We want to mail them and text them and email them and show up on Facebook and use direct mail extensively. But the most important thing at any of these live events is, while you have them face-to-face, is make an appointment right then and there. What we're seeing is about 75 to 80% of the people that we're talking to at any event, we can end up making a solid or at least a tentative appointment to come in for an introductory class, and then we can get between 50 and 70% of them to show up to come in from the school.
And we have some automated tools that we can help you with that'll do that. I mean, we don't sell them. We just try, our job is to help you figure out how to use them effectively and not get caught up in, which is a totally different topic, but not get up in the software stuff. We get asked about software all the time, and most of the time, 100% of the time, that's not your solution. Even though we're talking about we'll help you with automating the systems the best way you can, but to do all this stuff can be outsourced a little bit in that way, but you need to understand the whole big picture of it and not abdicate responsibility to software.
Oh, absolutely. And again, there's some great software applications, but they don't fix your marketing issue. And there's some great online companies, but they don't solve your need to know and have a range of marketing activities going on. They can help you with certain pieces of it. And Daryl had a statement here, or a question. And his statement is he's basically working full time, and time and effort is at a premium. Well, the question I always ask is, if you could add $100,000 to the net income of the school, would you be compelled to have 2 full-time jobs? In other words, to have the full-time job teaching at the university, or the full-time job doing whatever it is, and the martial arts school? Or are you doing the full-time job because you haven't figured out how to make a full-time living running the martial arts school? In my own case, when I moved to Denver, I took a job as a branch manager of a 24-hour novelist center. I was making big bucks. I was their #1 salesperson out of, 36, I think, at the time. It may have been 28. They had a big chain of locations here in Denver. And my thought was, I'm going to keep that until the school gets off the ground. And so what happened is that deal lasted about 2 weeks. And then I figured out I could add over 100 students in the next 6 weeks and be fine. So, in Daryl's case, okay, you're making $150,000 a year working full time. Why not replace that $150,000 plus another 50 or 60 or 100 running the martial arts school? Is that doable? Absolutely, that's doable. In fact, in my book, Mile High Maverick, and by the way, anybody who schedules an appointment, I'd be happy to mail that to you for free. In my book, Mile High Maverick, I talk about that. It was in the context of laughing at somebody who had I'm the 99% bumper sticker on their car. And, the top 1% of the United States is, last I looked, $386,000 in net income. I've personally been in the top 1% of the income in the United States since the day I opened my martial arts school. How hard is it to be in the top 1%? It's not that difficult. You just need to know how to do that, right? And somebody asked me a question, and we're not going to get to all of these things. With a single instructor and brand new students, how do you deal with enrolling 100 new students? Put on extra classes? Well, I mean, we can mostly you need a lot of introductory and beginner classes, right? And perhaps you need some staffing. And Daryl, replacing $150,000 income is fine. It's fairly easy to do. I'm not sure why you open a full-time business and work a full-time job if you learned how to replace your your income from your day job. That question, how can you just email me the prices later this evening? Ms. Jones, what we require all the students to do is come in for 2 introductory classes. It's going to give you a chance to see the facilities, learn more about the benefits of the program, meet the instructors, and understand how the program works more completely. We have a couple of different options. What we'll do is we'll do an evaluation process and decide which program is more appropriate for you. No, we can't email a price list because everybody comes in and does a couple of lessons. I could give you a range, but I'm not going to know what program is most appropriate and how you want to structure it until we go through that introductory process. They come in for the first lesson. They say, "Can't you just give me the price list?" Well, Mr. Jones, we'll go through that next time. What we want to do is do a thorough evaluation, see which program makes the most sense and how that works for you. Occasionally, they say, "Well, I don't want to get them all excited if we just can't afford this." And my answer would be, well, Mrs. Jones is going to range from $197 to $247 a month. Again, there's different ways of structuring different programs. What we want to do is do a little evaluation and then figure it out from there. And again, we're not going to get to all these questions. Our main thing I wanted to impress upon everybody is we should be coming into one of the most fruitful marketing periods of the year for you, not a slow period of time. Number 2 is, if you just don't know how to put enough students in the school, I mean, that's easy. We can solve that, right? There's no challenge with that. I've had a couple of our members. One of them emailed me a picture of the guy drinking from a fire hose, because that's the metaphor I always use. We've got all of our guys drinking from a fire hose. They have more introductory lessons that they're teaching in a week than many of them had in the previous 3 months. One of our new members, in the last month, he did more enrollments than he did last year. See, that's an easy one to fix. Just don't be cheap and don't have low self-esteem about what you can charge. We can talk more about how to do that. Again, I would recommend 720-256-0208. Give Bob Dunn a call. Master Moody, what would you add before we wrap up? We've been about an hour and 15 minutes here, a little over time, but if there's a couple more questions, we'd be happy to respond. I would suggest that people also go to the Facebook discussion group, but clearly we want to schedule an appointment. Somebody asked me when Volume 2 of Mile High Maverick is coming out. I don't know. When I get around to getting somebody to assemble it all and put it together in another book. What I do know is that the 2 books, Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 22 and Mile High Maverick, pretty much anybody in the top 1% of the industry who knows what they're doing have said are the single 2 best books ever written on the martial arts school business. And the Mile High Maverick book really is written for schools in the top 20% of the industry. It's not a how-to, it's more a way of thinking about things. What I do find is most of you have been polluted by the never take advice from somebody more screwed up than you are. You should only take advice from people who are making $250,000 and up net income from running martial arts schools, who have in fact done it themselves, who have in fact done it with multiple locations, who have in fact done it successfully through recession and peak periods of time, who have encountered hard times and pulled it back out of the flames. I mean, there's a lot of flash in the pan, and it seems like the last few years every moron has popped up to have a YouTube channel and a Facebook post and thinks that they're an expert in how to run a martial arts school business. And I got to tell you what, a lot of them are really giving bad advice. Most of it is about low commitment, bad sales processes, low price point. And most of them, their marketing systems really are stuff that they learned from me first or second hand, but they miss some key components, and therefore, they get people some results, but they're small results rather than huge results. So it's a big difference.
Yeah, and I would add too, sir. A lot of times people come to us with one information or the one thing that we're doing, or what's the one marketing thing you're doing. I just got asked that by the other day by a very good school owner, and he still thinks that it's about one marketing thing or about information. It's about what's the new information. And truthfully, I got to be frank, information's free. I mean, you can get information on the internet, you can get information on YouTube, you can get information all kinds of places. What we really want to do is help look at the big picture of your school, and help you with all the pieces so that you can get all the members you need to fill the thing up. Make sure that they're paying a good rate. Make sure you keep them a long time. And there's a lot of people talking to you about getting members, but they have nothing to do with keeping them or enrolling them or maintaining a really good relationship with them, so that you end up having a really weak business in the end. So, don't ask us just for information. Really ask us for the complete picture. I know we didn't get to everything A to Z, which is very hard to do in an hour webinar for everything that you guys might want to know about, on enrollments and about the little details of it. But that's why I want to encourage you to schedule some time one-on-one so we can really fill in the rest of the, help you with some of those details and fill in the rest of the blanks for you. But, we have so many good questions, it's hard to get to everything as usual.
Yeah. Well, and again, we keep having questions. You guys keep them coming. That's great. One was, have any of your clients had success with Chinese martial arts, Kung Fu? Well, absolutely. There are some $1 million a year Kung Fu schools. What I will tell you as a commonality is that school owners have been misled to believe that if I'm a solid traditional Chinese school, or I'm a Shotokan school, or I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, that the way to grow is to add a cage fit program, or add a, I love kickboxing program, or add a, some other curriculum. And that's usually the absolute worst thing you can do. You don't need to be a traditional Taekwondo school and add transported after school care to be successful. The schools that I work with, in most cases, the $100,000 a year or $100,000 a month schools, are usually doing it with one curriculum. Sometimes, like the MMA schools, it might be they do Muay Thai and they do BJJ, but it doesn't have to be this wide range of stuff. Is it possible to do it with Kung Fu? Yeah, I worked with a multi-million-dollar school in New York that was Jeet Kune Do. I've worked with schools that were Wushu. I've worked with schools who are Shotokan, Taekwondo, BJJ, Muay Thai, predominantly fitness-oriented, all of those things. So, yeah, absolutely, that's not an issue. With the schools that we're working with, that we're growing by leaps and bounds. Our structure is we get them together quarterly for a live mastermind meeting. The next one's going to be in conjunction with the Martial Arts Marketing Bootcamp. They're sharing best practices across the top schools. And I say U.S., but it's really U.S., Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK. We have a school in Sweden, a school in Amsterdam, a school in Frankfurt, etc. But they're sharing best practices. The same time, we do a quick start process where we do a live video meeting, not like this, but it's completely interactive. Every week, we do a classroom mastermind environment several times a month, a very active discussion forum, and a lot of personal hand-holding and focus and structure and direction. And again, you can do this in Dodge City, Kansas. You can do this in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can do this in New York or in California, wherever in between. And certainly, I have a very successful school in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Another one that's in north of Toronto. A very successful school in Bahrain, which is across the bridge from Saudi Arabia. So all over the world. But our process is not just throw information at you. The old model of throw you a DVD or give you a website access and do all that stuff. I've seen over and over and over that doesn't work. What does work to get you to be successful with your school is the same thing that helped you be successful with your school. It's a classroom environment with peers, some of whom are doing a lot better than you are, some of whom are trying to catch up to you. It's a concerned, dedicated, focused instructor. And again, you guys are welcome to check me out. In fact, if you go to martialartswealth.com/mastermind, my background is there. Jeff Smith's background is there. If you don't know who he is, he was the first world light heavyweight martial arts champion, kickboxing champion. He was still holds the record as the most watched kickboxing match of all time on the Ollie Frazier undercard. Over 50 million people watching that. More importantly, he's been a multi-million-dollar school operator since the 80s as the vice president of the Junior Institute, and then his own chain, and now working with me. Master Moody, You've run a very successful multi-school operation in Arizona and California. I've run multiple schools since the 80s. Since 1983, ran a NASCAR World Tour tournament, really have done everything that you can do in the martial arts. And before that, worked my way through Georgetown University, running a martial arts school. You're welcome to check us out. Feel free to Google us, look at ratings, all that stuff. But the real key to getting way into the high six figures, and if you're already there, the key to, and by the way, most of the schools that I personally work with have a tendency to be, they're already grossing $400,000 a year and we're getting them to $1 million. But we do have schools at a lower level that we're jumping up. It just has to be, if you're running a smaller school, you've got to be really serious about it and ready to do it in a high pace, because this is kind of the high octane program. Master Moody, what would you add to that before we roll off for the day?
Well, I think you said it really well. The biggest thing is that making sure that you're dedicated to making some big changes right away. I mean, if you really want to get your school to the point where you're, in a lot of cases, and we're not exaggerating, you're double or tripling what your gross income, which may mean 10 times better net income. If you're really willing to do what isn't necessarily a lot of work, it's work. It doesn't mean it's easy all the time. But if you're dedicated to making some big changes and you're willing to listen, then let's get started with it and don't wait, because now's the time, especially with summer coming up, we can help you with some of those details. But really the next step for everybody is to set a time so we can talk individually and see whether that's a good fit, because we really don't accept everybody. We screen out a lot of people, and I just don't want to disappoint anybody if they get on the call. And we'll be very frank with you and suggest that it's not the right thing for you. So I don't want to scare anybody off that way, but we want to make sure that we're working towards the same goals, and that you really want to make your school get better really fast.
Yeah, and to somebody asked me about some tools and software. I'll just post that in the discussion board. One good example, Master Moody, just to wrap up, Thomas Wright. He was just at our meeting in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago. 18 months ago, he came in. He was charging, I think, $95 a month and had around 100 students. Now he's at 220 active students, charging $237 a month. Now, run those numbers in your head, how dramatic a difference that is, right? And he has more introductory traffic, more enrollment traffic in the average month than he had in the previous year. Number two is his closing rate. The percentage of people who come into an introductory who enroll is way up, even though his tuition is 230% higher than he was 18 months ago. So, and that's the key, right? Is getting more introductory traffic, closing a higher percentage of them, and being able to do that with a more serious, solid enrollment. To me, the reason to be good at marketing has always been, I only have to enroll people who are going to be good, solid students, good member of our community, people who I'd be thrilled to have as a black belt in 4, 5, 6 years, people who I am excited, thrilled, get out of bed in the morning, enthusiastic about teaching, and gives me an opportunity to not worry about the ones who are not going to be a good fit, because I don't need the next dollar, and I don't need to bend my standards in order to get the next new person in the door. So, and again, the marketing part of it, I mean, we can solve that for everybody. Just keep in mind that right now is a very fruitful time, and you do have to focus on all of the above. Once you're over 100 students, you can do plenty of lots of new students through referrals. That's typically birthday parties, pizza parties, buddy events, making the Belt graduations a big spectator event, other things like that. You can do tons of revenue over the summer with live events and movie theaters, and a couple of the people who are working Monday through Friday, those things tend to be Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. And a lot of those things you can get some volunteers to at least help out if you don't have a big staff right now. The other elements are certainly online marketing, but it's Google, and it's Groupon, and it's Facebook, and it's retargeting, and there's a whole bunch of pieces there. what I might leave everybody with is, so much of this stuff, the important thing is follow-up. Telemarketing works great. It's hard to get hold of people, and email is dying a slow, painful, pitiful death. So don't rely on just email as your follow-up mechanism. Direct mail still works as well as it ever. The stat is the average person's getting 145 emails a day, 3 to 4 pieces of mail a day. And the most valuable use of direct mail is not something like Every Door Direct, but it's mailing to people who've already shown an interest. Again, we've hit a lot of stuff. Do you get permission from the movie theater to canvass the people there? Absolutely. We have a whole system in place where we set up a booth and work with them and do all that stuff. You can't just go in and start soliciting in their thing. You'll get trespassed off the property really quickly. And again, we're happy to talk to you individually about that stuff. And any tips on contract templates? That's way out of the realm of our conversation. Master Moody, I'm going to wrap us up here. I'll remind everybody, 720-256-0208. MartialArtsBootcamp.com is information about the fall boot camp, and martialartswealth.com. There's a bunch of a free copy of my first book and a free online seminar. And I really hope to talk to everybody next week or soon. Somebody said our theater wanted $1,500. Usually we're negotiating that down to $750 or to $800. And I want you to think of the numbers. If you made 100 appointments, got 65 intros, and enrolled 32 of them, and the average enrollment paid $500 down, that $1,500, if that's what you had to pay, I've never paid that much. But if you had to pay $1,500 in order to get whatever I just came up with, 30 enrollments at $500 down, if my math is correct, that's $15,000 cash right away. So for $1,500 investment plus the staff time, the return on investment of that would be outrageous. No, the $750 is for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So typically we're going in, sometimes even on Thursday nights, with a big opening. Like tonight, I'm taking my son he wanted to go to Alice, not to X-Men, so I'm taking him to Alice, probably X-Men tomorrow. But on the big releases, a lot of times there's a lot of people there on Thursday night. And all that stuff can be, we can help you with negotiating that too. Just give us a call and set up a time to work with us, and we can help you with those individual issues. But it can work. It works in every neighborhood. If you're willing to do what you need to do. So yeah. Those are. I'm sorry. The question on contract templates. Every state in the United States is a little bit different, and every province in Canada is a little different. And certainly have some thoughts on that. But that's way off topic. Somebody said his son got into Georgetown. Congratulations, that's my alma mater. I worked my way through Georgetown, working full-time for the Junior Institute. And, I opened in Denver, had no cash really. My parents loaned me $10,000 and I had a pocket full of credit cards. And within 18 months had $1 million a year operation with 1,500 active students. All of it was about coming prepared to know how to aggressively market and get enough new people in. But the way that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth was not money, but it was having learned from Jeff Smith, June Reed, Nick Kokinis, Ned Muffley. But having worked my way through Georgetown University, working for the Junior Institute, I came out of that with a heck of a business plan. And that's the type of thing that, of course, what I did then and what I do now, probably half of it would still be relevant and half of it would be, I'd focus on new media and new follow-up systems. Certainly nowadays I'd use text messaging and broadcast voicemail and email and all that stuff that didn't exist back then. But the principles are the same. Is if you want to have a successful school, first set the goal, make a decision. And there's a great book that I read years ago. It's called Jump and the Net Will Appear. And we can give you the plan. We can show you exactly how to do it step by step. But at some point, if you're at that stage, you've got to jump and make it happen. And we can give you the confidence to do that. And again, I've never paid $1,500, but if you go through the numbers, I mean that may be well worthwhile. But anyway, Master Moody, that's it that I have for today.
Sir.
And thank you for your contributions. And I think Master Smith never figured out the technology, so that doesn't surprise me a bit.
All right. Well, sounds good. And everybody, you know, we left those numbers. If anybody has any problems with that, just let us know. But give Bob a call, and we'll set up a time to follow up and get to everybody's details over the next week or week and a half. We're going to get pretty booked up.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't get to a lot of the questions, but, you know, be posting in that Facebook group. Again, hopefully you guys are all in there. In fact, I could go post that link right now in case you're not. It is free. There's no obligation. I'm in there at least once a day. The other thing that I would suggest you do is go to martialartswealth.com and let's schedule an appointment to chat. And so let me get that link to post for everybody if you're not in there already. And again, if you found it valuable, I'd love to have some feedback. If you didn't find it valuable, you know, give me some. Again, we did. I was planning on 45 minutes. We did an hour and a half. And tried to get to all of the questions. And again, I know that it wasn't as specific A to Z as some people feel like they need. But what I will tell you to do is expand your thinking, because there's plenty of opportunity all summer. And here's that link for the Facebook group right now. But give Bob a call and let's schedule a time to talk next week. And I'm going to go take my 8-year-old to the movie premiere here in a minute and call it a day. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Master Moody, and we're logging off for the day.